knowing what the right thing to do is, but being unable to do it due to circumstances beyond your control.
And let's talk about perhaps some of those circumstances or those factors that contribute to moral distress, specific to the South African healthcare, sector, or South African healthcare workers and their ability to provide service that they know is right and just and needed, but can't.
So we have an increasing burden of disease in South Africa, of non-communicable diseases such as cardiac disease and kidney disease, infectious diseases, substance use, and the medical and surgical consequences of violence, and an increasing burden of mental illness. Yet healthcare worker posts are being frozen or unfilled in order to deal with the 24-25 national government budget cuts to the healthcare department. These budget cuts also need to be understood in the context of an already struggling healthcare system. In 2023, some of our colleagues described the system as sick, and in 2024, as the healthcare system facing an existential crisis. So moral injury typically results from prolonged exposure to high levels of stress and impossible workloads that make excessive demands on our energy, our strength, and our internal resources. Our healthcare workers are frequently working in poor and dilapidated environments. There are frequently too few healthcare workers to see and care for large numbers of patients. So we frequently can't give patients the time and space to feel truly cared for and to feel seen, heard, and understood. In addition, existing services that we've spent years building and developing the expertise for and are used to being able to deliver to our patients are needing to be stopped or reduced due to lack of staff and the budget cuts.
And Doc, part of what you wrote in the piece, you say that this is a critical issue that's plaguing South Africa's healthcare system. And in fact, the escalating moral suffering amongst healthcare workers. And you argue that without substantial support, this suffering, now reaching epidemic levels, threatens to become a fatal burden. Expand on that for us.
Well, I think the first key indicator that we are really facing a problem here, like a sort of deck of falling cards, is that according to the Medical Protection Society survey released in October 2023, 35% of healthcare practitioners in South Africa say that their mental well-being is worse now than it was during the COVID pandemic, and 39% of those surveyed said that the impact of burnout and exhaustion is impacting on their ability to deliver safe patient care, as well as impacting on their mental well-being. In addition, a quarter of healthcare workers are actually considering leaving the profession or retiring early due to mental well-being concerns. So we are already facing a shortage of healthcare workers, particularly if you look at the statistics that the WHO recommend. They recommend ratios of number of doctors to patients. We already fall far short of that, and we have emerged from one crisis, COVID-19, and many of us are still struggling to get over the trauma and are still deeply affected by what we went through. And we now find ourselves in another crisis, again, not one of our making. We sort of rolled from one crisis to another crisis in a system that was really only just coping, and in certain parts of South Africa, some healthcare facilities weren't coping even prior to COVID. We also work in a society that is characterized by poverty, deep inequality, and violence. So the environment in which our healthcare workers work is deeply distressing in itself. And this compounds our experience of moral distress in healthcare. as resource shortages in the system, combined with patients' very difficult personal circumstances, leads to frequent exposure to distressing and traumatic ethical situations. So moral distress is increasingly, thank goodness, being recognized as the primary occupational hazard for healthcare workers working in South Africa. Wow. There's also a causal relationship between moral distress, job performance, burnout, and most concerningly, patient care. And healthcare workers who experience moral distress and moral injury are at higher risk of developing chronic physical and emotional exhaustion. In addition to that, burnout, depression, PTSD, and long-term negative adverse effects such as decreased quality of patient care, conflict with colleagues, cognitive impairment, substance use, suicide, poor physical health, and leaving the healthcare profession.
Wow. And I mean, you know, the picture that you paint is obviously one of a very vicious cycle that needs to be broken somehow. And we saw yesterday, for instance, the outrage around that Tom London video that was exposing the unfortunate conditions at Helen Joseph, terrible conditions to say the least, you know, and the attitudes of some of the healthcare workers that were caught on tape. And my colleague Ashraf Gada had quite, you know, the open line conversation around that. But it speaks to this doesn't come from out of the blue. It doesn't just come from anywhere. Of everything that you've said, even when we talk around the attitudes of healthcare workers, that speaks directly to staff morale that is very much linked to, you know, everything that you've highlighted above, all the sort of indicators that lead to moral distress.
So thank you for raising that. And I have seen Mr. London's video, which was distressing in itself to watch. I feel deeply saddened by his experiences of healthcare workers. And I would like to assure the public that not all healthcare workers behave in the way that Mr. London has experienced. Despite our difficult circumstances, I believe that each person, whether you're a healthcare worker or not, we are responsible for our own behavior. We have an ability to decide on how we respond to difficult circumstances. But given that, the system also has a responsibility to hold healthcare workers and to provide patients with an environment that at least feels like it is a space for healing. The video footage that Mr. London showed of the condition of the hospital is certainly not anywhere that I would feel that I would want to be if I was sick and wanting to heal. Neither would I want any of my family members to be in a situation where they're in an environment that in itself does not lend itself to healing. What I mean when I talk about burnout happens to healthcare workers who care. Moral injury and moral distress happens to healthcare workers who care. It is the deep psychological distress of not being able to support, help, and have the kind of relationship with patients that we want to have, that we know we should have. Good relationships with patients, where patients feel seen and heard and respected, leads to better healing. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But we're often faced with circumstances where it's from a number of patients and the amount of time that we have to see those patients, we're often in situations where we aren't able to develop those good relationships with patients. in addition to that, I believe that also it would be so wonderful if we had a healthcare system where you would see the same doctor or nurse over and over again. Wouldn't it be wonderful if things were as stable as that, and if we were well resourced enough that your doctor recognized your face, that understood part of your history and how you experienced your illness, and that this relationship in itself becomes a space of healing. A condition, for example, like hypertension, high blood pressure, is very difficult to see. So it requires an enormous amount of trust between patient and healthcare worker to say, well, you need this pill. And how do I develop this relationship of trust in an unseen disease where you very rarely have any symptoms, that you trust me enough to take this medication so that the complications of having sustained hypertension are not seen a couple of months or years down the road.
Yeah, I mean, and I hope that those who are professionals in the healthcare sector, especially public healthcare sector, do come forward and share their experience and perhaps how they're feeling as we have this conversation with you, Prof. We'd love to hear from you, and you can share anonymously. You don't even have to tell us which institution you work with or where your family member works, but we'd love to know how you're feeling from what you hear from what Professor Jackie Hoare is saying and the work that they've done in identifying the moral distress within healthcare workers in South Africa. And as she said, it occurs when healthcare workers are constrained from doing what they believe is right for patients by a whole host of reasons, whether it's institutional policies, whether it's hierarchical structures, whether it's the lack of resources, the resources that constrain you from being able to administer the kind of service and care that you know that your patients deserve. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line, and 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on. We'd love to hear from you if you yourself are a nurse or you work in a hospital, or perhaps you have a family member that works in a hospital, particularly a public hospital, and how do they feel? How do they feel about this burden now that is laid on their shoulders, that where they are incapable of providing the kind of health care that they went to school and took an oath to provide to their patients, and because of a system that is letting them down, of resources that are consistently unavailable, they cannot do that. And of course, that leads to some kind of morale as well. It's just a decrease in morale and your ability to go to work and be enthusiastic about what you're doing and be excited about what you're doing. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. Let's take a quick pause here for Madupi Mekhalamele coming through with the headline news.
Thank you very much, Sister Bridge, and a very good afternoon. In your headlines, Asawa, Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane has pressed charges against the Abatembu King Buyelekaya Dalinjevo for accusing him of being a beneficiary of extortion activities. Transnet says it requires financial assistance after recently reporting a loss of over 7 billion rand in the 2023-24 financial year. And an operation to remove radioactive debris from Japan's Fukushima nuclear plant is underway. I'll be back with all the details at the top of the hour.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. If you'd like to send through a WhatsApp voice note, you're more than welcome to do so. 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on. And the good professor joining me now, Professor Jackie Hoare, who is the head of the Division of Consultation and a senior consultant psychiatrist at Groote Schuur Hospital. And they write around moral distress. And this is the feeling of knowing what to do for patients, but being unable to do it due to factors outside of your control. and they say that this is morally distressing because it involves a feeling of being powerless to assist patients who are suffering. And of course, there are all kinds of factors that come into play here. So if you yourself are a healthcare worker, a nurse, a doctor, an intern or support staff in the healthcare sector, you probably know exactly what she's talking about here. And we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to hear, if you want to share the perspective of your family and friends and what they share with you in the confines of your home in private conversation about having to deal with just the lack of resource and the lack of support in the healthcare sector, and them having to bear the brunt also of angered patients and frustrated patients who feel like they're just not getting the kind of attention and service that they require. 086 000 2032 is the number that you can call us on, or you can always drop us a WhatsApp line. Prof, what do we do? We've spoken around the key indicators that signal just that worsening mental health around healthcare workers, but what do we do from institutional policies, perhaps from strategies that can be deployed in order to curb and reverse all the factors and the systematic practices that are in play that are causing this moral distress around healthcare workers? Because what we cannot afford is to have a quarter of healthcare workers considering leaving or retiring early.
Well, first, all of us, need to hold our leaders to account. There are now fewer healthcare workers than there were, and posts are being frozen in an attempt to deal with the budget cuts. All of us need to advocate for a halt and reversal to these austerity measures, because all of us are affected by them. To end the current crisis caused by national government, we need a reinvestment in public health urgently. But I do recognize that systemic changes take time and they take money. But we can and we must, in the interim and as a matter of urgency, recognize that the problem of moral suffering exists, it is real, and most importantly, it is not shameful. And this last point is critical. What exacerbates the experience of moral distress or poor mental well-being in healthcare workers is that there is a tendency for us to feel isolated and lonely in our suffering. A major contributing factor is that in the medical profession, vulnerability and uncertainty are seen as signs of weakness, and this perception is reinforced by a culture of silence, which convinces healthcare workers that everybody else is successfully managing these things. We also need to focus on creating good support structures, especially for making complex ethical decisions, and that these need to be made in real time, and importantly, that these difficult decisions around access to care, around allocation of limited resources, should not be done alone. We need clinical ethics committees in each of our hospitals, and for smaller hospitals, perhaps these could even be interinstitutional. But these committees need to promote and support and uphold and respect the dignity and rights of patients and healthcare workers, and can provide support and advice for navigating very complicated ethical dilemmas. Moreover, these kinds of support committees could provide opportunities to build and strengthen a culture of collaboration in our teams. I think importantly, instead of blaming healthcare workers, leaders should look for ways of supporting us and the people that we serve. We need courageous leaders who are authentically curious to understand and learn from stories on the ground about healthcare systems needs and healthcare workers' needs. We need leaders who are willing to have uncomfortable conversations and to consider our perspectives, and leaders who start these conversations with the acknowledgement that we do actually want to care for the people that we serve.
All right, let's go to our lines of communication. 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line, and 086 000 2032 is the number that you can call us on.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
Let's go to Limpopo. Ratabeng, how are you?
I'm fine in our way.
I'm great. Thank you for holding. Yes, sir. You say that, your clinic healthcare workers have been very kind to you.
They need to be applauded. I'm a grumpy old 72-year-old man. They handle us, with care. They give us the time to talk to them. I was so pleased with them. Only 4 nurses catering for over 200, for around 200 patients. In the consulting room, they give you time. We elderly people, my head is, and we complain about everything in the body.
Yes.
And they give us the time. It is really the healing process itself, just to be listened to and, giving that little bit of sympathy.
Absolutely. Ratchabeng Tate, thank you so much for the call. I love how he preambled it with he's a grumpy old 72-year-old man. Nothing grumpy there. And I'm glad that you've had a positive experience. And I think, for every bad apple, there's 10 incredible healthcare service workers out there, and even those that we want to label as bad apples, as we've heard in the conversation, there's a lot of factors that people are dealing with that we are not aware of, or we are aware of, but we don't have the first hand as to how it impacts them on a day-to-day. Let's go to WhatsApp.
From Cape Town. I used to be a healthcare worker in the public sector in the Eastern Cape, and I dare to say it was one of the most horrible experiences, because you try to do everything you can for the patients, but you don't have any resources. Management doesn't listen to you. You are young, and the nurses who have been there will tell you that this is how things have been, this is how things will always be. And it's not that they don't want things to change, because they also would love to change the way they care for patients. But the thing is, nobody listens. Management doesn't listen. The MECs of health will come and they will look at everything and they will pretend as if they didn't see. And they'll pretend as if they will, whatever it is that they saw, they will try and fix, but no one ever fixes anything. So it is one of the most disheartening systems. Honestly speaking, our system is sick. Our system is failing our patients. And I think one of the main reasons why I left was because I couldn't take looking at how much we were failing our patients. And I realized that I can't keep being a part of this. Thank you.
Wow, Prof, and I think that just surmises our conversation. That last sentiment from a very young healthcare worker surmises everything that you've just said. As we wrap it up, your final thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to thank the first caller. It felt good to hear that sir, that you had a good experience, and that what you were able to talk about was that people feel that they can heal when healthcare workers are given the environment where they can care for others. You felt seen and you felt heard and you felt respected, and that is the kind of healthcare system that we want, and it's the kind of healthcare system that we want to provide to our patients. And I feel deeply saddened for the young lady healthcare worker who has left healthcare, and I think you raise many of the important points that I've tried to highlight in this interview.
Yeah.
We want to. We are constrained from caring, and that mismatch between what we want to do for people and what we are able to do, giving limited resources, causes significant harm, so much so that you exited the healthcare profession. I'm sorry that.
Prof, unfortunately, we have to wrap it there for this afternoon, but we thank you for the time. That was Professor Jackie Hoare, who is the head of the Division of Consultation and Liaison, also a senior psychiatrist herself at Groote Schuur Hospital. And we hope that if you are in the healthcare sector, that, and we know everything that you battle with and that you deal with every single day that just compounds the situation, but that we hope that you stay committed to the path. They say being a healthcare worker is something that chooses you. It's not something you are called to it. And in the toughest of times, we hope you hold on to that and you hold on to, just the stories like in Tate out in Limpopo, who says that it's just wonderful to go out and be serviced by nurses, 4 nurses who service around 200 patients every day, and they still do it with a smile, with a sense of gentleness, and obviously also just giving all the time and the loving that they can give on all their patients. Let's take a quick break here, and then we come back and we get into the 48-hour film festival.
The breakers of the barriers have demonstrated that bravery, courage, and excellence often exceed any boundaries and limits. This exhilarating moment is the 19th edition to celebrate and honor the tangible impact of women in sport. Experience the Momentum G-Sport Awards 2024 on Thursday, 12 September at 6:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and reports on SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game. At Specsavers, we're committed to offering affordable and professional eye care. That's why we're offering 1,500 Rand worth of savings with our winter promotion. Get a free frame up to the value of 1,500 Rand or use the 1,500 Rand on one of our leading lens enhancements. To qualify, simply purchase a comprehensive eye examination and prescription frame and lenses. Book online or call your nearest store today. Specsavers, for affordable eye care and a whole lot more. T's and C's apply.
When self-made billionaire Wilton Knight rescues police detective Lieutenant Michael Long after a near-fatal shot to the face, he gives him a new identity and a new name, Michael Knight. Paired with the unique Knight Industries 2000 aka kit, they are brought in during situations where direct action might provide the only feasible solution. Kusazo Shuba and Michael Knight and Kit are ready to rise to the occasion. Channel your best retro with Knight Rider, weekdays at 12 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3.
The Powerball jackpot can't be missed this Tuesday with a huge 100 million Rand estimated jackpot. Don't get left behind. Be in it to win it by playing Powerball for an estimated 100 million Rand jackpot today. Buy your tickets now in store or via nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, a cell phone banking, or you can simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years or older and play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Stages, pages, screens, and more on The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
All right, let's talk all things the 48-hour international film project with Narusha Maharaj Sadapal, who is the city producer of the 48-hour international film project KwaZulu-Natal chapter. How are you doing this afternoon, Narusha?
Very well, thank you, Bridget.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for the time. For those who are unfamiliar with the 48-hour international film project, give us some context.
Sure. It's an international short film competition whereby filmmakers, content creators create a short film in one weekend. So that's everything from writing, shooting, editing, and uploading. It's an impromptu project, so you can't submit a film that you've already done. You cannot write because we give each team participating 2 genres, so you never know what your genre could be. We also give them 3 elements which have to be included into the film, and that's how we know it was made that weekend.
Listen, it almost seems unfathomable had I not seen someone in my past TV life do it once upon a time, because, I mean, to get a brief 48 hours prior, or maybe, it's crazy.
It's been happening for the past 24 years, Bridget. It's in 140 cities around the world, and we're super excited for this year. We're aiming for 100 short films in one weekend, and it pushes us as creatives to the max. And I mean, if you can do this in 48 hours, I've been told you can do anything.
I think so. I think so. I mean, let's talk about the kind of filmmakers that enter this competition. Give us some snapshots. Are we looking at younger film creatives that are, still at film school studying, who have all the energy and the imagination to do something like this in 48 hours? Are we looking at seasoned professionals, or it's a nice, healthy mix?
It's a beautiful mix of your seasoned professionals to your, fresh out of film school, to content creators, to youth, currently creating content on their mobile devices. And that's something that we also want to encourage, is mobile content creation, especially with youth having smartphones. I mean, there's award-winning films that are on Netflix that are shot with smartphones. So opportunities are endless, and it's a beautiful mix of seasoned and professionals to newcomers.
In fact, Uzalo, SABC1's Uzalo director, Lungelo Ngomezulu, is an alumni of the 48-hour film project, and he credits it on many platforms. He's credited it for shaping his successful career. What does partaking in a project like this do for a filmmaker's agility and sensibilities to create under such immense pressure?
So exactly, and thank you for bringing that up. So it's been said that if you can do this, you can do anything. You get to test who you can work with in your team. It pushes your creativity. You also use this. You never know what comes up in that one weekend. You use this to develop into a feature project. This becomes your show reel to showcase to funders, and the opportunities are endless when participating in a project. But not only that, whoever wins here, the overall winner, represents our chapter internationally to compete against the other 139 city winners. And then the top 10 films get screened at Cannes Film Festival.
Oh.
In the short film corner. So it's a huge opportunity.
Now that right there is quite the big deal, right? Now, I was not aware that you win this round or this chapter, you go on to compete internationally in the international cohort, and then Cannes becomes a real thing that you could possibly put, under your credits, under your IMDb profile.
Exactly. So the Cape Town film did really well last year, and they won the top 10. So I was at Cannes to support my fellow Cape Town city producer and watch their film at Cannes Film Festival. Last year, a film from Ghana had also made it to the top 10. So they were also there. So I'm looking forward to somebody from KZN to represent us.
What kind of stories, if you can recall, the kinds of stories that have stuck out for you that have been submitted before as part of your chapter?
There's actually two that really sticks out, and strangely enough, they were both silent films. So I never actually knew that I loved silent movies, and I just loved, I loved it. But I mean, some of them have such strong impact and the message that they portray, even though you can't plan because you never know what your character is, your line of dialogue or prop, or your genre. But I mean, you can still get your message across as a creative, as a filmmaker, as a writer. And I mean, I often see that in a lot of the films being produced.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit, Narusha, about the rules, right? So obviously, if you are receiving a brief that you must then churn out to fruition in 48 hours, there must be some hard, fast rules.
Yeah, absolutely. There are. So some of the rules are they have to be short films, so anything from 4 minutes to 7 minutes long. You would have to comply with your genre, and that you only get on the Friday night. So you'd have to comply with your genre. We give you 2. You can use both or 1. Your 3 elements, which are your character, a line of dialogue, and a prop. The character does not have to be the main character, but we have to identify the character. So we would give you a character by a name and a profession. So we just have to see that character somewhere in the movie, and so that's how we know, okay, you're ticking those boxes.
Okay.
And it has to be obviously made during the weekend of 48.
Yeah.
And those are just basically, and then we have our tech specs, which we give you at the workshop. There's a workshop prior to the actual event. So, I mean, those are the main rules, just complying with,
Lovely stuff. Narusha Maharaj Sarapal, thank you so much for the time today. She's the city producer of the 48-hour international film project, the KZN chapter, and you can log on to www.48hourfilm.com/Durban if you want to get more specifications around that. Let's take a pause at this point. We'll come back on the other side of this break, and then we'll touch base with the producer of Jive Culture Shock, which is set to showcase in Cape Town this month.
Okay. They actually did it. I mean, I've seen it done in other countries, but now they have a whole new local season of the show. Oh, Mzansi, you beautiful, amazing land with diverse families and cultures. Wife Swap South Africa is finally here. Tune in from Monday the 9th of September and see how families from across South Africa swap wives and learn a thing or two or three on how other families operate. There will be disruptions, lessons learned, tears, and smiles in this unique and insightful social experiment. Channel your best entertainment with Wife Swap, Mondays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Stans and Nigati have a secret plan to grab maximum points, but the Eagles refuse to travel back to West Africa empty-handed. The South confronts the West. This is the Total Energies AFCON 2025 qualifier. Witness the beauty of African football. Eswatini versus Mali on Tuesday, 10 September at 3 p.m. Live at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
This Heritage Month, SAFM invites you to celebrate the rich tapestry of our nation's diverse cultures. From the vibrant beats of our traditional music to the flavors of our unique cuisines, every culture tells a story of strength, unity, and identity. We honor the heroes and heroines who laid down their lives for our freedom, reminding us that our shared heritage is what makes us strong. Together as one, we celebrate who we are because our culture is our identity. This Heritage Month, let's celebrate every culture, every story, and every voice. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
Okay, let's see if we can get this done in under 5 minutes. So we're catching up with producer Fakhri Abrams, who is behind the production Jive Culture, which is returning for its 5th season in Cape Town this September from the 20th until the 28th, a full week of a fabulous dynamic arts and culture blend. How are you doing this afternoon, Fakhri?
I'm doing amazing. It's just 1,000 things happening. It's showtime.
I can imagine.
It's a million things happening, but all in the name of representing, never mind Cape Town, but our South African culture and putting it on a big stage with utilizing raw, uncapped talent that has never been seen at this level before. It's so exciting.
We love it. I mean, there's so much culture, as you say, not just in Cape Town, but in South Africa. But if we hone into Cape Town, there's so much culture that is nuanced to the people of Cape Town. Talk to us about how that is being represented through this production.
I think what we represent, specifically, it's the minstrel, the Cape Town minstrel, and the Malay choirs. We're synonymous to Cape Town and South Africa, where the world come and see us on the Tweede Nuwe Jaar, or 2nd of January every year, just to showcase and see us dance in the street, or on New Year's Eve dancing in the streets. But what we're trying to say is we're much more than that. You know, our culture is good enough to win Grammy awards, man. You know,
Yeah.
Let's open it up. Let's not try to be like someone else. Let's try to be Cape Townian. Let's try to be Cape Town colored. Let's sing like we sing, dance like we dance, and show the world that we can also put things on a big scale. You know?
Absolutely.
And it's so nice that it's at the Eon Group at the Joseph Stone, where it's in the heart of the Cape Flats,
Yeah.
but you can put on a world-class event there. You know,
Wonderful.
So it's very, very important that we hone in on this. And 5 years going strong, Jive Culture Shock. I feel like it's here to stay, because you know I always say I want people, when they purchase that ticket at Web Ticket, not to only come and have an amazing night out and start tickling your taste buds for the festive season and getting in the mood. It's Heritage Month. All of those things are added to it. But come and be proud to be Cape Townian. Come and see these kids, you know, represent us, you know, because I'm telling you, I've been around to the rehearsal rooms. The guys came to rehearse by us at the Eon Group. What they're putting together, I'm sure all the listeners are in for a treat. They're in for a treat.
So as you say, you know, this is the 5th season now, and this has become an iconic part of Cape Town's arts and culture calendar. Give us just a quick snapshot of what our audiences can expect when they come through to the Joseph Stone Auditorium.
Season 1, David Kramer, the honorable and respected David Kramer, was our judge, right? And he said this, and I think this is what makes the listeners understand what they can expect. It's Klipse and Malay choirs on Broadway.
Oh.
So what you see in the street, it's literally that on Broadway. Fully rehearsed, choreographed, storyline, vocal ability, live culture shock band. This year on Heritage Day, there's a market with tasting all the foods of our culture. There's minstrels coming to dance there. There's the brass band show. We're introducing brass bands for the first time on Heritage Day. So we're really trying to give people that a full week, like you say, of a Cape Town cultural experience.
Yeah. And this is quite an affordable outing as well. As we wrap up our conversation, Web Tickets is where we go, and the tickets range from 150 to 600 Rand, and they are available for sale. And the 600 Rand ticket, that's the seasonal ticket.
Yes, that's the seasonal ticket. It works out much cheaper if you buy the seasonal ticket, if you want to come watch every show, right? So every show is 150 Rand. The finale is on the 28th. The top 3 teams battle it out for the coveted title. That is 200 Rand. But if you buy the season ticket, it works out. You save quite a bit of bucks if you buy the season ticket. But come and watch episode 1, 2 teams up against each other. The 20th, the 21st, the 24th is the market and the brass band show. The 27th, the 2 runners-up gets to battle it out for the chance in the finale.
Yeah.
And on the finale, the 28th, it's a big one.
Lovely stuff. How I wish I could be in Cape Town, but who knows? A boer market plan. Fakhri Abrams, thank you so much for your time today. And he's the producer of the Jive Culture Shock Festival. It's happening between the 20th and 28th. That entire week out in Cape Town at the Joseph Stone Auditorium in Athlone. 8 p.m. each night is when you can catch the performances, and tickets are available at Web Ticket starting at 150 Rand. And of course, the 600 Rand rather, seasonal ticket.
SAFM leading the conversation.
Essential cover from Outsurance pays out claims in cash, allowing you to choose your own panel beater. And you can simply SMS CAR to 43187 now.
The top story is at 2 o'clock. Premier presses charges against the Abatembu King and Transnet in need of financial assistance. A very good afternoon. Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane has pressed charges against Abatembu King Buyelekaya Dalindyebo for accusing him of being a beneficiary of extortion activities. Dalindyebo recently made the comments during a public meeting called to deal with extortion activities in Mthatha. The Premier says these are serious allegations against him.
We are actually the people who are leading this campaign to deal with this problem and inspiring hope and confidence in our people. For someone just to do that, we take it as a diversion. It's an attempt to distract us, not to focus on the real issues. But we don't also want to take our eyes off the issues that are happening there. That's why we want police to investigate. So MEC has opened the case already. I'm doing a statement, an affidavit, to actually get involved in the case myself, because my name has been there and I'm a premier.
In his comments, King Dalindyebo was very direct when he accused the Premier of being a beneficiary of the deeds of the late alleged extortionist Sakhumzi Mareke.
To hell with those premiers! To hell with those mayors! Because our premier are actually, did you Oscar Mabuyane can prove it in any court, is a beneficiary to Mareke's stupid actions. The beneficiary.
Transnet says it requires financial assistance after recently reporting a loss of over 7 billion rand in the 2023-24 financial year. The state-owned rail and ports company says it needs a third-party participant to assist with the recapitalization needed. It was briefing Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts, SCOPA, on the audit outcomes for the year. Transnet has attributed its underperformance to, among other things, a decline in volumes being transported and underinvestment. Public interest lawyer Richard Spoor, who is at the forefront of the class action lawsuit against Tiger Brand following the listeriosis outbreak 7 years ago, says the case has been unduly delayed. Relatives of victims and survivors of the devastating listeriosis outbreak are demanding accountability from the packaged goods company. The National Institute for Communicable Diseases has confirmed that the company's Enterprise Foods factory in Polokwane was contaminated with the deadly ST6 strain of listeria. Spoor says the source of the problem is clear.
It is legitimate that there are disputes in matters. There can be contestation over the merits of the case. But in this matter, the confidence that one can have in this case borders on certainty. It is clear from the work done by the NICD that Tiger Brands manufactured and distributed contaminated meat products that caused this outbreak and led to the deaths of hundreds of people and the crippling and maiming of hundreds more. It's clear. So the question is, why should we be having an argument? Why should we drag out a matter for 6 years over the question of liability?
And an operation to remove radioactive debris from Japan's Fukushima nuclear plant is underway. Officials are hoping to retrieve a sample to reveal conditions inside the reactors. More from the BBC's Will Leonardo.
This is a key step in the multi-decade operation to decommission Fukushima 13 years after it was engulfed by a massive tsunami, sending 3 reactors into meltdown. No humans can enter, so specially designed tools are being used to remove a sample of the almost 900 tons of radioactive debris inside. It's the second attempt after a previous one was scuppered by technical issues. The plant's operator, TEPCO, envisages this operation alone will take 2 weeks, with a full removal of the debris likely to take decades.
The top story at 2 o'clock, Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane has pressed charges against Abatembu King Buyelekhaya Dalindyebo for accusing him of being a beneficiary of extortion activities. The full circle continues for SAFM News.
And that's it for the news this hour. Theft, accident and 1 million rand liability cover, all covered by Outsurance Essential. Get a quote today by SMSing car to 43187. Now, low-cost insurance for your older car with Outsurance Essential. A 44-year-old woman pays only 465 rand a month for her 2011 silver VW Polo 1.4 Comfort Line and gets up to 1 million rand liability cover. That means if you cause an accident, the other car will be covered covered for up to 1 million rand. Get Outsurance Essential for unfinanced cars that are older than 5 years and valued at less than 125,000. It's time to switch and save. SMS car to 43187. That's car to 43187 today. Outsurance is a licensed FSP and T's and C's do apply.
At Ashopol, we understand the needs of those we serve. We are over 110 years old and we're still here to serve you. Named Best Life Insurer by Forbes, would like to thank you for helping us grow and tell our story into the future. You made us the trusted insurer we are today. SMS serve to 44366 and we'll call you back. Ashopol is an insurer licensed to conduct life insurance business, an authorized financial services provider. FSP 53. T's and C's apply.
Dawn breaks across the lush Serengeti plain, but paradise is fleeting as the animals face fresh challenges. Kali the lioness and Bakari the baboon may seem safe in their rock fortresses, but with rivals encroaching on all sides, their future hangs in the balance. Out on the plains, Duma the cheetah faces his destiny, and down by the river, baby hippo Mafuta strikes up an unlikely friendship with the crocodile Magamba. Channel your inner explorer with Serengeti Season 3, Sundays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
So why, so why, so why, so why, so why, so why. Mamada Rasulullah kone bina kumasa Nebe sara la muzohula hadununya muzohula kula mogelema Ibe kono ta segenna kidimolo segenna hakika no la mo abada Kataga la mola ibodi la mola kika no tono dun abada Sa So what So what Johnny nye la mode nye Neni ndogo ni la mode nye Johnny nye la mode nye Fanta bata ni la mode nye Na umanya nema Kala monye ponye ne duma la mo korodo Johnny nye la mode nye Neni ndogo ni la mode nye Ni wolo teni bibolo Ikana dika tala mola Ni demu zomani bibolo Ikana dika tala mola Denje mani bibolo Ikana dika tala mola Obena ni duzo kasiye Obena ni sonjae Sa So wa So wa So wa
Definitely a highlight. Whenever she comes on the playlist, my heart skips a beat a little bit. It's Malian artist Fatoumata Diawara. She's set to be in the country later on this month. She's actually headlining the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, so that's going to be an absolute treat. She's born to Malian parents, but was actually born in the Ivory Coast. And that's where she spent her foundation years, in the Ivory Coast, before she was sent back to live with her auntie in Bamako in Mali. And she's just a firm favorite. She now straddles between the African continent as well as Europe, with her base of being France. And of course, she was also an actress, by the way. In case you didn't know, she was an actress before she became a musician. Bambara is the language that a lot of her music is presented in, and it's the national language of Mali, spoken by over 80% of the population. It's just gone 10 past 2 o'clock on The Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM. It's Tuesday. And of course, by the way, if you missed our little PSA yesterday and you're wondering what happened to Kids Corner, it hasn't gone anywhere. It's coming through at the bottom of the hour. As of yesterday, we've reworked the show's scheduling, and Kids Corner now comes through at 2:30 o'clock. Smack bam when you are sitting in the parking lot picking up your little ones from school. When that school bell goes out, we make sure that they don't miss a beat with Kids Corner and Nalibali. Right now, though, because it's Tuesday, and after 2 o'clock on a Tuesday, we focus on health and wellness issues, and today is no different. We're having a conversation around kidney care. Last week was National Kidney Awareness Week in South Africa from the 2nd until the 6th of September. But, we know so little about our kidneys, except for the fact that they are a remarkable little organ that works tirelessly to filter through toxins. But what exactly are those toxins? How does it all benefit our body? How should we be taking care of them? And maybe some of the red flags that we should be looking out for to, just alert us that things aren't A-OK with the functioning of your kidneys. What we're going to be talking to the good Dr. Siobhan Clark, who's the CEO of the National Renal Care, that we're going to be talking about her around all things kidney. How are you doing this afternoon, Dr. Clark?
Good afternoon, and thank you very much, Bridget. I'm very well, and just really thank you for the opportunity to be able to join your show and discuss such an important issue as kidney awareness. So thank you.
We appreciate your time because we know how busy you are, obviously, as a practicing medical professional and, of course, a CEO of National Renal Care. Let's talk about, firstly, I think it's always good for us to understand when we talk about organs contained in our bodies, because we think we know, but we actually don't know. So let's get to know the kidney a little bit more, where it perhaps is situated relative to the body, and its primary function, for the body. What does it do for us?
Great, thanks very much. Maybe just start in terms of, really putting it into perspective from a kidney disease perspective. When you're looking at chronic kidney disease globally, it impacts on 850 million people. And those are 850 million people who either have chronic kidney disease, or they have acute kidney injury, or they have renal replacement therapy. And in fact, that is 20 times more than individuals with diabetes, and twice the amount of those with individuals with diabetes, and 20 times more than those with HIV. And those are two very well prominent public health concerns. And furthermore, when you look at chronic kidney disease, it's shown that within the last 3 decades, we've had a 29% increase in terms of the prevalence of chronic kidney disease. So when you see the extent and how vast chronic kidney disease is as a condition, if we were to now really reflect in terms of the kidneys themselves are bean-shaped organs, and they're located just slightly below that of your rib cage. And they're approximately the size of your fist. And when we actually look at kidney disease, or if we actually look preferably more at the kidneys, what the most common renal function is what everybody knows, is that the kidney acts as a primary filter. And in fact, what it does remove, which you had also referred through to, is that it removes toxins. But that's in essence one single function of what the kidney actually does. The kidney has so many more functions, and it includes aspects like, for instance, it manages and maintains your fluid balance, but then it also removes additional harmful substances such as drugs, but it also manages your electrolytes such as your sodium, your potassium, your calcium, and then it's also very instrumental for bones. It manages your calcium and your phosphate. It also produces a hormone, an enzyme which is called renin, which regulates your blood pressure. And then it's also instrumental from a hormonal function. Your kidneys produce a hormone called erythropoietin, which stimulates your red blood cells. So that when you're looking at your renal function and functions of the actual kidneys, you can see the extensiveness and the value that it adds from a complete perspective.
I mean, that's quite the sort of extensive explanation of what kidneys do. And I think you're right when you say that a lot of people, a lot of us, myself included, we really just boil down to the singular function of it filters toxins. And I guess we do the kidney a huge disservice by way of understanding everything that it really does in the body. And do you think that maybe our miseducation and misinformation around how the kidney function also aids in our ability to be able to maintain the kidney, or perhaps not even put the kidney under stress and duress?
Yes, very much so. So when we have a look at the kidneys per se, and I suppose, one of the biggest complications from kidneys is that it's often a silent condition. But so some of the studies, what they have actually reported, and this was produced by the National Kidney Foundation, and in fact what it did report is that 9 out of 10 individuals who have chronic kidney disease, in fact, don't even know that they have kidney disease. Further, 1 out of 3 that have severe kidney disease, they themselves do not know that they have kidney disease. And this is why, days like today, and in fact Kidneys Awareness Week, and when we celebrate World Kidney Day, it's really about creating that awareness to be able to advocate for the importance of kidneys and also that high risk or that high potential that exists for kidney disease.
Let's talk as well, Doc, around some of the signs or perhaps some of the symptoms that we could be alerted to or aware of as an indicator that maybe something isn't going right with the kidney or the kidney is not all too healthy. What are some of those?
Yeah, so, and the biggest problem that we have here with your kidneys is that often, as I mentioned, it's a silent. So there's often non-specific signs and symptoms that are related through to your kidneys. But if you were to look at some of those signs and symptoms that do start to occur, and again, they often occur when there's significant amount of damage to the kidneys. But those signs and symptoms could include a difference in urination, more frequent urination, also could look at you creating what we call like a foamy urine. Then there's also a generalized fatigue that an individual may start to feel. And fatigue is very different to tiredness. So with tiredness, you can have some rest and you start to feel better. But with fatigue, it's a lingering tiredness. It's ongoing. So despite you have adequate amounts of rest, you have this persistent fatigue. Some of the other signs and symptoms that you may get a metallic taste in your mouth. And again, that's from a buildup from the uremic toxins. You can get nausea and vomiting. You can get almost what we call a mental fog, decreased concentration. So again, it's sometimes often very non-specific signs and symptoms, and therefore, really highlights the need for continuous screening and seeking medical advice and assistance, should you start to feel any signs or symptoms, but also even if you're at high risk, to seek that medical advice.
Yeah, it's just gone 20 past 2, and of course the doctor is in the house. We're talking to Dr. Siobhan Clark, and she is a renal care specialist on the back of it being National Kidney Awareness Week last week. And so if you have any questions or perhaps things that you need clarity on, you're more than welcome to drop us a line on 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line, or 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on. Let's take a quick pause here.
The breakers of the barriers have demonstrated that bravery, courage, and excellence often exceed any boundaries and limits. This exhilarating moment is the 19th edition to celebrate and honor the tangible impact of women in sport. Experience the Momentum G Sport Awards 2024 on Thursday, 12 September at 6:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and reports on SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Weeknights on S3 are anything but ordinary. BBC Primetime brings you the best of British television from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Open your mind to Life on Death Row, Thursdays at 9 p.m. and Resistance in a Hostile Environment, a 3-part documentary showcasing turning points which would go on to define race relations in the UK for a generation. Thursdays at 10 p.m. Wind down your weeknights with The Outlaws, Fridays at 9 p.m. and explore the world's most dangerous roads at 10 p.m. Channel your best entertainment with BBC Primetime, only on S3. Open up.
Arts, culture, and robust conversations with Bridget Masinga.
086 000 2032 is the number that you can call us on. 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line. We are in conversation with Dr. Siobhan, and she's the CEO of National Renal Care. We're talking around kidney awareness and kidney disease and all kidney care, all things pertaining to our kidneys. So if you have any questions, perhaps, or things that you've heard that you'd like to get clarity on, now is the time for you to do exactly that. She can arm you with some information that you can use as a follow-up when seeking more professional, nuanced advice with your clinician, or of course on your Google search, or when talking to your health care provider. Doc, let me ask you this. Oftentimes when we talk about kidney disease, right, we use the term kidney disease, kidney failure, as sort of just a broad, generic term. But are we making reference to one singular disease, or are there other more specific diseases that fall under the category of kidney disease or in kidney failure, for instance?
Thank you very much for that question. So when we refer through to chronic kidney disease, in essence, chronic kidney disease is divided into 5 stages, with the 5th stage, the final stage, being what we call as end-stage kidney disease. So when you start off with chronic kidney disease, you then start with what we refer to as your glomerular filtration rate, and you get a decreased glomerular filtration rate that progresses. So a normalized glomerular filtration rate is 120 milliliters per minute, and then as it deteriorates through the various stages of chronic kidney disease, you then progress to what we call end-stage kidney disease. And end-stage kidney disease is when you have what we refer to as a glomerular filtration rate of less than 15 milliliters per minute. And in essence, when you reach end-stage kidney disease is then when you need to generally look at either a transplantation or dialysis, which we often refer to as renal replacement therapy. But however, when you're in stage 1 to 4, that's where the greatest opportunity really exists, and it's what we call a pre-end stage kidney disease stage. And that's where you have the ability to either prevent kidney disease or slow the progression of kidney disease before you get to end stage kidney disease.
I see. So at stages 1 to 4, there can still be some kind of interventions depending on which stages you are between that.
Very correct, very correct. And what we see is when you're looking at stage 1 to 4, there's significant amounts of opportunity, as I mentioned, to prevent or slow the progression of kidney disease. And such interventions really look at what we often refer to as the acronym BALANCE, but it's really about maintaining your fluid status, making sure that you drink enough liquids. It's also about seeking advice. And as we mentioned, kidney disease is really a non-specific. But if you are at high risk, and those include individuals, for instance, your diabetic individuals, hypertensive, those maybe with sleep apnea or high cholesterol or a family risk of kidney disease, those are the individuals that you should really make sure that you seek medical advice. Go and visit your doctors, have those routine screenings, because those routine screenings could detect kidney disease that you may not be feeling. And if you're able to detect it early, you have that ample opportunity to really slow that progression or even ultimately prevent that progression. And then there's other factors such as your lifestyle, nutrition, diet, exercise, which are also fundamental.
It's so interesting, Doc, when you sort of mention the comorbidities, and I always have to slow down when I say the word because I know I mispronounce it. When you mention those comorbidities that can also be linked to kidney disease or put individuals, high-risk individuals, at risk for kidney disease, and you mention sleep apnea, a lot of people, we wouldn't think that sleep apnea would be linked or could cause or could somehow intersect with kidney disease, for instance.
Very correct. And, the aspects here is to be able to have a look and see what those original causes are and how they then subsequently could impact. So you could have a secondary condition. And if I maybe use a very common example, something like high blood pressure. Now, kidney disease causes high blood pressure, but also high blood pressure causes kidney disease. So it's really to show that not only does it cause a condition, but also can be caused by a condition. And that is why it's really so important to be able to make sure that you seek that medical advice and that you have those health screenings.
And what does a health screen for kidney disease look like? I mean, in the instance where you're not suspecting anything, you're not feeling any signs or symptoms, as you say, most of them are really silent. What does the screening process? Is it just a blood test?
Correct. So there's two really key metrics that we use within nephrology and specifically related through to the kidneys. And that is the creatinine. It's a simple pathology test. And when we take the creatinine blood result, we then use it to calculate the glomerular filtration. And that really gives us a good indication in terms of how the kidneys are functioning. A second very simple test as well, which could be done in any primary care, any clinic, any medical facility, is a urine test. And when we do a urine test, what we do is to have a look to see, is there any protein or is there any albumin within the urine? And that also then provides an indication that there could be damage to the kidneys and you require further investigations. And your general health screenings, your blood pressure screenings, your glucose screenings, your cholesterol, those are also very generic. But the two key markers from a kidney health perspective is urine and creatinine.
All right. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line if you want to send through a message or a voice note. If there's a point that you need clarified or perhaps you need further understanding on some information that you've come across regarding kidney disease or some suspicions that you might have. The doctor's in the house, but she's not going to be in the house for much longer, just the next couple of moments or so after the headline news. And 086 000 2032 is the number that you can call us on. Let's get to the headlines.
Thanks, Bridge. Good afternoon. With the news headlines, Israeli diplomats have been instructed to lobby members of the U.S. Congress to pressure South Africa to drop its legal proceedings in the International Court of Justice over the war in Gaza. Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane has pressed charges against Abatembu King Buyelekhaya Dalindyebo for accusing him of being a beneficiary of extortion activities. And the Gauteng legislature says more than 2,000 cases of human trafficking and kidnapping have been reported between January and March this year in the province. And those are your headlines. A full news update at 3 o'clock.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Maybe, Dr. Siobhan, let's get to some preventative measures and then we'll go to Jay in Somerset West. Some preventative measures, perhaps, or practices that one could use if you've already been diagnosed with some kind of kidney disease, or you fall in that category of high-risk individuals?
So thank you very much. I think there's really key instrumental factors that could really assist an individual that is either at risk of kidney disease or in fact has kidney disease. And the largest one is related to that of lifestyle, which in essence what we do recommend from a nutritional perspective is there's a large amount of supporting evidence looking at maintaining almost a plant-based, but not necessarily to say that you have to be vegan or vegetarian. A 60 to 70% diet from a plant-based perspective, but also it's about having a diet that's low in sodium, and also there again that you have moderate amounts of protein. But what would be instrumental is that you do consult with your dietitian and with your nephrologist or your doctor that would really be able to make an individualized dietary plan that could really assist you, taking into account your full health condition. Also, what's paramount is exercise. And again, the evidence is strongly supporting about 150 minutes of exercise a week. And that could be as mild as just walking, that you're walking normally, that you're not out of breath. But again, it would be important to, again, consult with your healthcare team, and they can also tailor-make an exercise plan that would really help you to be able to, manage your risk criteria or any additional conditions that you may have. Yeah. And then what's also, I think really key and instrumental is about education and really equipping yourself with amount of education about your condition and how to be able to manage. I think, a really key important aspect in healthcare is about creating what we call a co-created participatory healthcare environment. And that's really supporting the individual through their entire journey from being at risk or being diagnosed right through all treatment regimes. And it's really about empowering individuals and giving individuals, as well as their care network, the material and the content to be able to make informed decisions and tailor making a treatment plan that's really customized and individualized to yours. And there's multiple resources that are available. They're available through the website. We also have a mobile application that really gives that individualized advice consistently. So it's about educating and empowering yourself.
Yeah. Let's get to Jay in Somerset West. How are you, Jay?
Oh, hi. Yes, lovely program.
Thank you so much. Go ahead.
In about 2007, I think it was Tammy Beckie's government introduced fluoride into the drinking water. Now, it's speckled my child's teeth, with marks, and now they've found that it actually dulls the brain so that you can't think in like you're having an accident or something to avoid it. But what I want to know is, it comes out of a mine, so it's not necessary, but does it harm the kidneys, please?
Doc?
Hello?
Yes, Jay, doctor will answer you. You can listen on the radio. Go ahead, Dr. Siobhan. Did we accidentally lose the doctor? Oh, she muted us accidentally. Dr. Siobhan?
But obviously any form of excessive high-level toxins could impact the general health of an individual. But again, these are on really high toxic levels. Our water quality that we do have that comes through our taps is quality controlled, and they do check the amount of elements and toxins in the actual water that then subsequently will come through to what we drink, and make sure that the water that we do drink is safe for human consumption.
Someone wanted to ask quickly, Doc, just in our last moments, I'm just trying to find that message. Which foods or drinks should one avoid at all costs if you've been diagnosed with some kind of kidney disease?
So generally what they do recommend is that you have a low-salt diet, and a diet that avoids highly processed foods, because often you'll also find a large amount of salt in your highly processed foods. So generally recommending is that you do have a low salt and a moderate protein diet. But with saying so, what's also really important, again, and it's really important to emphasize, is that you go and you have a consult with a dietitian and with your doctor, because they'll really create that diet plan that's specific for you. You know, some individuals might have a higher tendency to have a higher potassium, for instance, and then they'll create a diet that's lower in potassium. And that's why that individualization is so key. You know, a diet I have made for somebody else would not necessarily be the ideal diet for me. But just generally on a renal diet, it's a low sodium, moderate protein diet.
Yeah. Just our last question, Doc, as we wrap up the conversation. I'm 53 years old. Does having burning sensation on both sides under my rib cage with a slight pain, is that any indication of kidney issues? I get tired too much, too easily as well. I also have, where did it go? I also have a testicular cyst on one testicle.
Okay, so again, I think, you know, the complication with any form of kidney problems is that it is often non-specific. So what would be then key is to be able to go and see your healthcare professional and let them do a examination on you. If there is a suspicion from a kidney disease, they'll then do a creatinine result. They'll do a urine test, and immediately then, just with those two very simple tests, they'll then be able to guide in terms of, you know, what risk you are from a kidney disease perspective. But again, you know, if you are, for instance, at risk and you do have any additional conditions, that could pose additional strain on your kidney. So it's really important to be able to ascertain, is there a kidney disease element, and then to be able to have a look at what conditions could potentially further put harm onto the individual kidney. So again, it would be really important to consult with your medical practitioner and let them just do the further investigations to really ascertain and make sure that they can give you that right diagnosis, that right treatment.
Yeah. Dr. Siobhan Clark, we appreciate the time with you. And Dr. Siobhan is the CEO of the National Renal Care. You know, we're all still getting used to the rework of our clock. So let's take a quick break and then we come back and we get into Kids Corner.
Samson Nigati have a secret plan to grab maximum points, but the Eagles refuse to travel back to West Africa empty-handed. The South confronts the West. This is the Total Energies AFCON 2025 qualifier. Witness the beauty of African football. Eswatini versus Mali on Tuesday, 10 September at 3 p.m. Live at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
This Heritage Month, SAFM invites you to celebrate the rich tapestry of our nation's diverse cultures. From the vibrant beats of our traditional music to the flavors of our unique cuisines, every culture tells a story of strength, unity, and identity. We honor the heroes and heroines who laid down their lives for our freedom, reminding us that our shared heritage is what makes us strong. Together as one, we celebrate who we are because our culture is our identity. This Heritage Month, let's celebrate every culture, every story, and every voice.
The Powerball jackpot can't be missed this Tuesday with a huge 100 million rand estimated jackpot. Don't get left behind. Be in it to win it by playing Powerball for an estimated 100 million rand jackpot today. And you can buy your tickets now in store or at thenationallottery.co.za or via the mobile app, cell phone banking, or you can simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years or older and play responsibly. Ituba is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
SAFM leading the conversation.
All right, it's just gone 22 as we've moved things around a bit on our regular program. Even myself, I'm still getting used to it. We'll do better for you tomorrow. It's time for us to get into Kids Corner.
This program is brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives.
Good day. My son name is Dembe Morofe. I'm 7 years old. What I like about my hair is that it's black. My favorite hairstyle is cutting my hair short. It's very important to love your hair because it affects how you feel about yourself and how you express yourself when communicating with other people.
Hello everyone. My name is Munira and I'm 10 years old. Many people like their hair's uniqueness, whether it's their natural texture, color or style. Some appreciate their hair's softness, shine or volume, while others loves its ability to express their personality. Some people may admire hairstyles that don't suit their face shape, hair type or lifestyle. For example, someone with curly hair might envy sleek and straight styles, while those with straight hair might desire bouncy curls. Remember, your hair is part of your identity. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Hello everybody, my name is Tulipela Mweng. What I like most about my hair is my head texture and the fact that my hair grows very quickly and my hair is also very soft. That's what I really love about my hair. A hairstyle that I'd really like to do are cornrows, but my mom doesn't really allow me to do them because she does not think it's very nice and formal. The piece of advice I'd give the young ones about their hair is use your hair to look beautiful, use your hair to look magnificent, use your hair to bring out your beauty as well. And of course, you should wash your hair thoroughly. We don't want any ticks on your hair and all those things. We don't want fleas on your hair. So yeah.
How I care about my hair is just the normal way that other people just care. Sometimes they do allow me to choose the hairstyles that I want, but I think really what I have to do, sometimes I just tell them to choose for me which one I should do. And I feel good about the decisions that I have to make and how I need to tell them to do for me. And I don't feel that my hair should look different when I go to school because I can also do some of the natural hairstyles or some of them with hairpiece. Thank you.
I am Lorraine Moyo. I love my hair so much. I prefer long hair to short hair. I wash my hair every now and then with shampoo, then use conditioner. I use a dryer, then moisturize it before combing it and tying it with a ribbon. My mom is usually the one who washes my hair. I like having singles braids, which go up to the middle of my back. My mom does not let me choose what I want. I remember another day when I wanted pink braids like Show Majosi, but she refused. She did not like pink hair. At school, they are very strict when it comes to hairstyles, so I don't get to do different hairstyles except for those allowed at school. I feel sad when I don't get the hairstyle I prefer, but I think my mom and teachers know better than I do. During school holidays, I feel I should have a different hairstyle to that I have at school because I want to change. I just want to look different. After all, holidays are the times I can choose how I want my hair to look like, as long as it's not pink. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Kate and I'm 12 years old. I have an afro, so sometimes I don't braid my hair and I just leave it natural. And for a couple months this year, my hair wasn't done and I treated it with all the special hair oils and it didn't break out or anything, and I did what I had to do with my hair so that it didn't get damaged. And right now my hair is in braids, and I actually prefer it in braids because when it's not in braids, when I have to comb it all the time, it is so painful. And I think I look really, really good with the braids that I have right now. And my parents actually do allow me to choose what hairstyle I like because, you know, there are hairstyles that they like for themselves and ones that they are fine with me choosing.
Hello friends!
Today we're going to talk about why it's super important to love and take care of our hair. Your hair is a significant part of your identity. Whether it's curly, straight, wavy, long or short, your hair helps express your unique style to the world. Embracing your hair is important because it contributes to what makes you you. Everyone's hair is different, and that's what makes it truly special. Your hair reflects your personality, and no one else has hair exactly like yours. Sometimes you might feel like your hair isn't as great as someone else's. You might think that someone with straighter or curlier hair is luckier, but that's not the case. Every hair type is beautiful in its own way. Just think how dull the world would be if everyone had the same hairstyle. The variety in hair is like a vibrant rainbow. It adds excitement to life. Caring for your own hair is also a wonderful way to show it some love. When you brush, wash or style it, you're giving your hair the attention it deserves. Just like watering a plant helps it thrive. You don't need fancy products or hairstyles to show your hair love. Keeping it clean and healthy is the best way to care for it. Ultimately, loving your hair is about embracing who you are. Your hair is part of what makes you unique, and when you appreciate your hair, you're also showing the world that you love yourself. So wear your hair with pride, no matter its style. And remember, your hair is fantastic just the way it is.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
It is the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga on SAFM. In case you're only now popping into the car, just a little bit of a reminder in the final stretch of the show. We're going to be catching up with Sandy Cipriano, who's the founding CEO of Cupcakes for Kids, and they are an NGO that supports children with cancer through the love of cupcakes. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and on the 28th, the much anticipated National Cupcakes Day for Kids with Cancer is going to be taking place at 70 malls across the country. How are you doing, Sandy?
Yes, on the show today.
Thank you for taking the time. All right, before we get into this incredible initiative for the month of September, let's just, get some history and an overview of Cupcakes for Kids and the incredible work that you guys do in supporting the conversation and, of course, the much needed resource drive around childhood cancer.
So yes, our Cupcakes of Hope nonprofit, we've actually been registered now for 12 years. So super excited. The first year that we started this little fundraiser, it started as a tiny little fundraiser at our restaurant, and that year we helped one patient. And here we are 12 years later, and over 10,000 children have already been financially assisted, and as well as visits in hospital, visiting hundreds of children every year.
I mean, 10,000 kids, over 10,000 kids already assisted through the initiatives of Cupcakes of Hope. That's a lot of homes and a lot of lives that you've touched. And talk to us about what that assistance and that resource looks like that you plug into.
So yes, so before COVID hit, we were averaging about 50 to 70 children that we were financially assisting every single month. And that is for paying for their medical bills, shortfalls, trying to get them to hospital, petrol money, and so forth, as well as supplying children with prosthetic limbs, as well as prosthetic eyes. But unfortunately, when COVID hit, we saw that the need just literally quadrupled. And currently, we financially assist over 200 patients every single month. Our youngest patient that we registered last year was only 4 months old. We've got a little baby now that's a year old. So they're very, and we assist children from the ages from birth right up to 18 years old.
We oftentimes don't consider the financial implications, and maybe you can paint us a picture. We don't consider the financial implications that cancer care requires, and knowing how limited our healthcare services and institutions are. It means families probably have to go outside to get the necessary help.
So in a lot of cases, and look, we assist families that are on medical aid or visit the public hospitals. Majority of our children, our patients, are in the public sector. But what happens to a lot of these families are, unfortunately, single parents, and all of a sudden now the mom or the dad has to stop working to take care of their child full time. So imagine the financial burden now of not being able to earn a salary. That's when we will step in and we will try and assist and give them, help them with transport costs to get them through to the hospital. In cases where we have the private patients, we will try and continue to pay their medical aid, so at least the parent doesn't have to worry about that.
My apologies, Sandy. I just got a tickle in my throat. Pardon me for a second. All right, hopefully it's all systems go again. It does happen even during important conversations like the one that we are having. And as you say, 200 patients every month that you are plugging into with assistance. I can't imagine how many cupcakes that obviously means, but I'm imagining cupcakes in the thousands. And so I'm pretty sure Cupcakes for Hope isn't the cupcake drive that you'll do isn't the only way that you raise resources.
So our main fundraising event is National Cupcake Day, and yes, we're going to be at 70 malls across the country, but we are totally dependent on the community, our cupcake angels. We call them our cupcake angels, and these are volunteers from the community that give up their time and love to bake 24 or 48 cupcakes. And anybody can register. You don't have to be a professional baker. You can be a hobby baker. Just try and register. Bake your 24 cupcakes. Choose your nearest participating mall, and then come and deliver it on the day. If you are not a baker, we still need you to come and support us on National Cupcake Day by coming to make either a 10 or a 20 Rand donation per cupcake. Our aim this year is to have over 200,000 cupcakes pledged. So the aim is to raise 2 million Rand this year, which is a big task. And we're sitting on just close to just over 53,000. So we've still got a long way to go, but we've got 18 days to go. So the listeners out there, please mention this to any friends that you know that love baking. I mean, it's so easy to bake 24 cupcakes. Then if there are corporates that are listening, we would like to invite them to maybe sponsor baking ingredients. The high rise of living costs has skyrocketed. So although we might have bakers, they can't afford to buy the ingredients. So if you in your heart would like to donate some flour, sugar or eggs or milk, please pop us an email and see how we can just get you guys together with the bakers. And then lastly, I also encourage the corporates to create an awareness event at work. This is such a lovely way to do team building, to get different your staff to bake. I mean, I always call them closet bakers. You never know in your company who are the closet bakers. But do a challenge. It's lovely for team building. Create awareness. And then go visit our website, cupcakesofhope.org, because on there you'll also find the cancer early warning signs, which we've translated into all 11 official languages. I encourage corporates to print it, put it up in the staff quarters, because the earlier we can actually identify and correctly diagnose a child, the quicker the child can start with therapy, and they'll have a bigger chance of surviving this huge battle that they have to fight.
Absolutely. I mean, 2 million Rand is a very, very meaty target, but I have all the faith in your cupcake angels that the target shall be reached and even surpassed. And fortunately for you, you also, from what I hear, you also have some really good partners who've come on long term. The likes of Mug and Bean, for instance, who've plugged into Cupcakes of Hope from the first year.
That is correct. So we've partnered up with Mug and Bean. Now it's our 12th year running. So for those listeners that don't know, for every muffin that you buy at Mug and Bean during the year, they will donate R1 to Cupcakes of Hope. But in September, they launch a limited edition, the Muggles Muffin, which is the cutest little muffin. You can have, well, not little, it's giant muffin. And this month, R2 from all the muffin sales will be donated to Cupcakes of Hope. And over the past few years, they've donated more than 5 million to our cause. And I honestly can tell you that they are angels, because that just helps us to be able to assist even more children every year. It's like I say, become a cupcake angel is by far the sweetest way to help save a life.
I'm definitely, there's one down the road from me. I'm definitely going to go buy a muffin today after the show and do my bit. So this year, for National Cupcake Day for Kids with Cancer, you're going to be at 70 malls around the country. Give us just a snapshot for folks that are very lazy to Google, maybe highlight of which malls you're going to be at.
We're in all the major centres, from Cape Gate to Gateway to Canal Walk. It's just all over the place. In Joburg, we're at East Rand Mall. Pretoria, we're in Menlyn, so there's just too many. I'm too scared to mention, and then some of the coordinators will get upset with me. So please go visit our website, cupcakesofhope.org. We need you. It's literally just 24 cupcakes that you need to bake. And if there are, if their moms and dads driving home now with their kids in the car, just also remember that kids can also do their community hours by registering at Cupcakes of Hope. And so that's a super easy way to get everybody involved.
Wonderful. And I'm sure you don't discriminate if we use a little cupcake mix and do everything from scratch.
You know what? I often get this question, Sandy, what recipe can we follow? And I always tell them you can follow any recipe as long as you remember the secret ingredients. I don't know if you know what the secret ingredient is.
I have no clue. I'm thinking a sprinkling of love.
That is exactly. You see, you're a cupcake angel and you didn't even know it.
I love it.
So that's correct. Yeah, so any recipe can be followed as long as they remember to bake it with love. And like that, we are making a difference in the lives of our little cancer warriors. I mean, they can't fight this battle alone.
Absolutely. Sandy, we appreciate the time with you, and we love the work that you do with Cupcakes of Hope, as well as your Cupcake Angels countrywide. You can log on to their website for more information, but the 28th of September, the National Cupcake Day for Kids with Cancer is going to be taking place at 70 malls around the country, and they have a list of all those malls. All part of the fun could be spending the entire day just hopping from mall to mall on a mission to find cupcakes and to support as many cupcake stands as you can possibly fathom. That's the 28th of September 2024. A wonderful initiative there with the aim this year of raising 2 million rand. So let's make sure we get them over that finish line. That is how we wrap up our show from our end. Ashraf is coming through 3 until 6 o'clock. I'm sure there's lots on the agenda, lots for you that you want to get to on the National Pulse. So we'll get out of the way and we'll see you tomorrow. We have a date between you and I, 1 till 3 o'clock. Inshallah, God willing, we do it again.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
I mean, who would you like to share a seat at the table with? Like someone you've never sat with, but you'd love to?
Wow, gosh, I can't imagine. Probably the president of Nigeria, because I'd love to really ask, what's wrong with South Africa and Nigeria, and how can we get it right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, as someone who does lots of public speaking myself, emceeing, program directing, I'm always drawn to people who are so articulate, and you've always been that. I mean, how have you developed that presence?
Really, I think it's just that I've had so many opportunities, but secondly, I prepare. I don't just speak. I'm pretty fussy about what I'm going to say in public.
How would Naledi Pandor like to be remembered?
That I sought to serve our country and our people, and I never blemished the name of my family.
Naledi Pandor.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
the top stories at 3 o'clock. The U.S. set to pressure South Africa over the Israel case and more than 2,000 kidnapping cases in Gauteng. A very good afternoon. Israeli diplomats have been instructed to lobby members of the U.S. Congress to pressure South Africa to drop its legal proceedings in the ICJ over the war in Gaza. South Africa has until the 28th of next month to present its arguments to the ICJ. A delegation headed by International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola is currently en route to Washington. Our correspondent, Sherwin Bryce-Peace.
The ICJ has issued several provisional orders on Israel's conduct, including on urgently needed humanitarian assistance in Gaza, and that it refrains from actions that violate the rights of Palestinians as a group. The Israeli Foreign Ministry reportedly sent a classified cable to the Israeli embassy in Washington and all its consulates in the U.S., urging them to pressure South Africa that continuing its case could come at a heavy price, including efforts towards suspending trade relations. The cable urged